You're talking to your own higher mind right now. It's just that we are happy to function as a mask, as a filter, in a sense, as a flavor for you to let it be all right to talk to your own higher mind through us. But you're actually speaking with your own higher mind right now.
Yes, I actually had that experience last night. I realized I was talking to my higher self.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, there you go.
Okay.
Well, you still are.
Okay, the problem that I'm here to ask you about.
You mean a challenge?
Oh, yeah, a big challenge is...
All right, big challenge, but a big challenge doesn't mean it has to be defined as a problem. That's what we're saying.
Well, it's a struggle.
That's all right, it doesn't have to be.
I wish I could choose it not to be, but...
You can choose it not to be.
It's easier said than done.
That's a belief.
Okay, can I just ask my question?
Yes, you can.
I'm just curious if you could remember back to when your people, your species went through this change that we're going through, how you lived your life at the same time. I'm finding a lot of pain involved in letting go of old concepts.
The only reason you would have pain in letting go of old concepts is you don't believe that you need to let them go. You believe they're serving you still. Remember, you hold on to nothing that you don't actually believe is somehow serving you. No matter how painful they may be to hold on to, what you're actually saying is the alternative is worse.
How do I get to the bottom of how it's serving me?
Very good question. And here's how you can do it, at least one way. The idea is to understand what we have called the motivational mechanism. Again, please understand, this is automatic for everyone. There is absolutely nothing you really need to do to make this work. It's already working. You just have to allow yourself to understand how it works so that you can use it in a way that you prefer to, instead of using the mechanism in a way that you don't prefer. You follow me so far?
Yes.
All right. The motivational mechanism is simply this. And I mean there are no exceptions to this. Not even you. You follow me?
Yes.
All right. You will always, immediately, automatically move in the direction of what you believe to be in your best interest. You will always, immediately and automatically move away from what you believe is not in your best interest. Knowing that, that should tell you something. If you are holding on to something that you know intellectually is not in your best interests, and you understand the motivational mechanism I just described, the only way that that could stick around is if you have defined it in the motivational mechanism as actually being in your best interest more than the alternative. Or vice versa, you have defined the thing that you say you prefer as actually somehow being more scary, more fearful than the thing you don't prefer. And so you're so afraid of the thing you do prefer for some reason, based on some belief you're holding on to, that you're willing to put up with the pain and struggle of the thing you don't prefer just because it's more familiar. Just because it feels safer, because you're so much more scared of the thing you don't know about.
And
Does this make some sense?
Oh, yeah, I've heard this many times from you. But
it's not sinking in.
I can't figure it out. How do I move forward? I want to move forward so bad.
Well, you have to find out what it is you're holding on to. You've heard us give the example of the idea of how people on your planet are raised with different definitions of money.
Yes.
Can you apply that idea to yourself at all about the contradictory beliefs that you are raised with that create conflict within you? Until such time as you actually consciously identify those beliefs? Because only by consciously identifying them can you let them go. If you don't know what they are, you have nothing to work with.
I know what my beliefs are. I guess I feel like I'm swimming upstream.
I don't care what you feel like.
Like my ego's
I understand what you feel like. But again, remember, the feeling only comes because you believe something to be true. You can't have a feeling without believing something to be true first. So if you have a feeling you're swimming upstream, you have got to be defining something in your life in that way. You yourself said it a moment ago. Easier said than done. These are just belief systems. They're not empirical truths. There is absolutely nothing about the phrase easier said than done that is an absolute law of creation. It's you that is giving it solidity. by believing in that idea. You're the one giving it form. You're the one giving it shape for some reason. Find out what the reason is why you are buying into those kinds of limiting ideas that produce struggle, strife, pain. Remember, pain is resistance to the natural self. So what is it about being your true natural self? What is it about the thing you prefer to be that is so much scarier than what you're already holding on to that you don't prefer? What would be the worst, most terrifying thing you can imagine would happen if you actually let go of all of these fears and negative definitions and actually allowed yourself to be who you preferred to be? What would be the scariest thing that you imagine might happen if you did that?
Yeah, I wouldn't know who I am anymore.
Now, all right, very good.
Yeah.
Now, why would you assume that to be true?
Because I define myself from my experiences and all the people around me. And if I move on to a whole different belief system,
Yes.
I'll kind of be out there by myself.
Well, may I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Haven't you ever moved from one belief system to another ever in your life?
Yes.
Well, was that a problem for you?
Well, it was, but when I got there, I was okay.
So what makes you think it's not going to be okay again? How many examples of doing that do you need before you get the point that it's always okay?
Okay.
How many times do you have to give yourself that symbol, that reflection, before you know it will actually always be okay? How many times? It's up to you. I'm not pushing you. How many times have you already done it?
Innumerable, and it's been very painful. So maybe I'm getting from you, if I just kind of let go with it, the pain will kind of go away too.
It will not kind of go away.
It will.
It won't exist in the reality of the person that you actually prefer to be, because by definition, that person doesn't experience pain and struggle and resistance.
Okay.
You see, you have to watch your definitions. You have a definition that says, if I become who I prefer to be, there's something about that that's going to be painful. But if you actually listen to what you just said, you would realize that that's nonsensical. How could becoming who you prefer to be contain a definition of being something that is not what you prefer?
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Your definitions are muddled. That's where you're having the difficulty. You're not listening to the definitions you're actually using to define who it is you prefer. You're creating your own contradictory definitions about who that person is. If that really is the you prefer to be, it cannot, by definition, contain the elements of negativity that you're describing. Otherwise, it can't be that you. It wouldn't be that you. It would make no sense. So what you're defining is someone that isn't who you prefer to be. But when you define clearly who it is you do prefer to be, and you allow yourself to be that person, it will not contain anything that is irrelevant for that particular person. Your life is negative.
And I don't want to live in that other world emotionally
Then
anymore.
don't.
Okay, how?
Again, when you say real life,
Which means going to work and all that.
so
business,
what?
yeah.
Does that just mean that you're not doing what you love to do?
No, I like it, but it's so different. It has a different feel to it, you know?
Then you're not doing what you love to do.
I mean, I'm really happy that I go to work. I'm like, I like my job, but I just feel
Do
so
you
unhappy.
do what you love to do or not? Yes
I know you've
or
had this
no?
conversation a lot. Okay, I used to really love it then. Okay.
Is there something else you would rather be doing?
I'd like to be retired, yeah, and pursue this kind of life all the time where I'm just happy.
Well, why not do that?
That's the hard part, I guess. Okay.
Why are you saying that's hard? You're the one making it harder.
Yeah, you're right.
There is nothing empirically true that what it is you prefer to do has to be hard in the way that you mean it. Yes, of course, there will always be some challenge. Yes, of course, you might have to actually take some actions and do things. But if it's truly a labor of love, it won't feel like a labor. It will be a joy.
Okay. But
Are you picking up on this?
very much so. And I just got. Do you understand?
When
how,
you say very much so,
So?
unless you actually exhibit the behavior that goes along with it, it's not very much so. Remember, action and knowing are synonymous. So if you're not actually acting like it, you don't know it yet. Do you have a small object, coin, pen, anything at all that you can put in your hand, piece of jewelry?
Yes, I have one now.
Put it on the floor. Did you do it?
Yes.
Pick it up. Did you do it?
Yes.
Action and knowing are synonymous. What you know you can do, you just do. You don't think about it. You didn't go, I believe I can pick it up. I think I can pick it up. I'm not sure. Might be hard to bend over and pick that up. Not necessarily as easy as it sounds, perhaps. Oh, let me think about all the different things that could happen between here and picking it up. You didn't do any of that. You just picked it up because you innately knew in every fiber of your being that you could. Action and knowing are synonymous. So when you say, oh yes, I get it, but you're not doing it, you don't get it. You don't know it yet. So when you act like you know it, you will know it. And when you know it, you will act like you know it. Is this making some sense?
Perfect. I totally understand it. Can I just
Do
say
you?
one more thing? I do, but moving away from all the people I work with, my family, all my friends.
So what?
And was that easy for you to do when you had to do it?
I never had to do it.
But your kind went through this progression, right?
Not as much as your society, no.
Ah, okay.
But we understand the concept and have incarnations in realities, such as yours, that do go through those things, which is what gives us the understanding of those concepts. Otherwise, it would be too alien to us. Nevertheless, the idea is that when we allow ourselves to know that everything is neutral and doesn't have built-in meaning, and we supply the meaning that we prefer, we always get the effect that we prefer regardless of what's going on around us. So when we know that the things and opportunities that are presented to us in our lives are always there, always, without exception there, for us to put a positive meaning into them and get a positive effect out of, because that's our choice, then we know that that's all we will experience. And therefore, what hesitation would we ever have to move forward when we know that everything we will ever do, no matter how challenging, will always only be experienced in a positive and joyful way, because that's our choice.
And even this day, I mean, I knew I wasn't going to come here, and I woke up and I said, I have to go see Bashar because I'm going to get called. I'm going to get this opportunity. And
well,
I did.
There you go.
And I was like, I wasn't even surprised, but no one who I know would understand that way of thinking. And I
Do
see
you
them
understand this way of thinking?
Do I know it?
Now you can't say that anymore.
I see everyone suffering around me, and I can't help them.
So what?
Just let them.
You understand this very importantly. By staying in your fear, you're not helping them. By moving into your joy is the only way you can help them, because you're giving them an example to let them know they could choose to live in their joy too. But if you don't live in your joy, you never give them the chance to see that it can be done.
Thank you. That really helps me.
Good day, good day.
Good day, and thank you for your service.
Aveo.
My questions are three short ones. The first one being, who are my guides that I'm working with, and will that change?
Well, it changes all the time based on their particular skill sets and what it is they are attempting to guide you in. So everyone has multiple guides that take turns based on what's needed at the time. Now, they are members usually of your soul family. They don't have to be. They can be friends that you know in spirit and may remember when you return to spirit. But the idea is that there are sometimes spirits that choose to be guides that are not necessarily members of your soul family, but they want to practice with someone, and so they are given the opportunity to do so when and where their skill set and their experience so allows. So guides can be many things. They can come from many different places. They can be parts of your soul family. They can be parts of another spirit dimension. They can be extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial beings. It just depends on what you need at the moment. But they will trade out and take turns. Usually you will have 2 to 3 that sort of stay with you throughout the lifetime, even though they may also take turns. Sometimes you connect into the angelic realms as well, again, as necessary.
Okay. And allowing that to just happen and continuing to go with my passions, I will be guided.
Yes, of course, always. You're never left alone in that sense, except to the degree where you need to learn to guide yourself. So it's not done for you, but it is done to help you understand how to get in touch with yourself, feel the connection that you have to source that never goes away, so that you can be your own best guide. So a lot of times the guidance will come through the form of synchronicity, because they're using what's already in front of your face in physical reality to deliver the message. So if information that you require is already present in your reality, all that a guide may need to do is give you a slight nudge, a whisper in your ear, so to speak, to get you to pay attention to something that's already almost right in front of your face to give you the information that you need. You may not recognize that as guidance. You'll just call it a coincidence or synchronicity that you overheard exactly what you needed to overhear exactly at the right moment. But that can also be the product of a guide nudging you in the direction where to make sure that you will run across the information that you need.
Thank you. I understand. In regards to children, because
Yes.
I work with my grandson and other children in a Montessori setting.
Yes.
They're obviously not here on the call, but are they also realizing and choosing during this shift?
Of course, every being is a spirit. Everyone has chosen a path, and every spirit knew that this is a time of transformation and transition on your planet. It is the ending of certain cycles and the beginning of other cycles that will propel people who are willing to join certain positive cycles into a reality where you will experience an expansion of consciousness and an expansion of connection to your galactic family and your soul family. So many children being born on your planet now are not just a new generation, they are a new species entirely.
Okay, thank you. And the last thing is working with sound. So I like to work with sound, Sanskrit, music, all of that. Is there any
Yeah.
particular vibrational sound that will help me to
Well,
stay?
whatever you are attracted to, explore, experiment. The harmonics that exist that are ones that are representative of natural ratios, what you call golden proportions, and things like that can often be best for most people on your planet to allow you to experience harmony and connection and communion with the idea of nature. So explore and experiment. Whatever you're attracted to because the attraction tells you it will work with your belief system.
Got it. Pretty simple anyway.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Those are my 3. I appreciate
And there is a book called Alien Interview, which is about the communication between an ET survivor and the nurse that established telepathic contact with the ET, called AIRL. Has this planet been a prison planet where social deviants have been dumped and their memories continually erased with each incarnation, as the ET indicated?
No, that's a total misunderstanding, a total misinterpretation. You are not a prison planet. You are not social deviants that have been dumped anywhere. So, no.
It appears that the languages spoken by the various hybrid races differ. Yael channelers have shared words in their language that don't seem to exist in your ancient Sasani language, and vice versa. If each hybrid race has a unique language, what is the rationale behind this? Does it stem from each race having a distinct perspective, or is there another explanation?
Well, first of all, you have hardly heard any of our ancient Essassani language. You have probably hardly heard any of the Yael language as well. So you don't really have a large basis for comparison as to what words do and don't exist in each respective language. That being said, yes, there are differences in much the same way that you have different dialects in different countries on your planet, because of the differences in each of the hybrid civilizations and their experiences and what it is they are meant to do as their place in open contact.
Does God have a God himself?
God, in our estimation, in our particular perspective, is all that is. If there is the idea that there could be something quote unquote higher, then that is the all that is. And if that has something higher, then that is the all that is. So that is an infinite and eternal constant that always moves in the direction of expansion. And there can be different versions of all that is, experiencing the idea of itself being all that is or not being all that is, and having something higher being all that is, but that's still all that is. So that terminology, all that is, to us is more representative.
Okay. And then this person would like to know they need some help reframing abundance and manifestation when dealing with significant debt. The very word has negative and lack implications. Even when the person says debt-free or zero debt, the word debt gets me right back to the presence of lack. Let's see.
Well, that is primarily because you are giving it only a negative definition. You can also look at debt in a positive way, which means there is an active principle going on where you are flowing different forms of abundance through yourself to others in such a way that allows you to attract even more. So the idea is, depending on how you define the concept of debt, and not always frame it in a negative construct. However, at the same time, you have to be honest within yourself about looking as to why you may have created an imbalance in the idea of your outflow with your inflow. And you may be restricting the ways in which you are allowing abundance in its different forms to come to you, which may be creating a bottleneck that allows you to experience more outflow than inflow, because you are restricting the inflow by not seeing the different forms of abundance that are available to you as being equal to other forms of abundance and support. So you have to first and foremost balance all the ways in which you could be supported as being equal, all the different definitions of abundance as being absolutely equal in their ability to allow you to move forward and allow you to increase your input, while at the same time looking at the idea that if you are being honest with yourself and not acting out of anxiety, then your outflow as well will be in balance with your inflow automatically. Again, synchronicity as the organizing principle will help with this when you define the ideas in ways that work for you, as opposed to holding on to definitions that don't. You have said that the word debt implies lack. It doesn't have to. Again, you can look at the idea as simply a product of your outflow, and it is something that allows you to know you are rich and abundant by having that level of outflow, because by having that level of outflow that you're now looking at in a negative way, the level of outflow can actually be representative of your capability of attracting an inflow that is equal to the outflow or even larger than the outflow, so you do not feel that you are, quote unquote, negatively in debt to anyone from the negative definition or point of view. So looking at debt is simply another way of saying I have an outflow, it is of this capacity, it is of this magnitude, and that magnitude of outflow, that magnitude of owing to other people, in a sense, and supporting other people, which is another positive way of looking at debt, supporting other people is equal to or less than my inflow when I expand my definition.
Okay. And are we still interested in the same things after death, or does our focus change completely? Can we keep up with the earthly things that we enjoy and tune into stuff still going on here in Earth, or do we evolve past all of that into new dimensions of experience?
You can focus on anything you wish. You are free to do so because of the intermittent time state that you are in. Past, present, future are all there for you to view in any way, shape, or form you wish, along with any particular thing that you did as a physical being that you may still hold a reason to be interested in. But that's the real key, is you may no longer be interested in it based on what you're experiencing as a soul. So it's possible that you can focus on certain things you were doing when you are physical. For the most part, it is not necessarily probable or likely that you will.
And from the perspective of our ego and personality self, what happens when we wake up or transition out of a lifetime? Do we immediately return to full awareness of ourselves at a higher level, or is there some process we go through to unwind from the lifetime and reintegrate back into a broader perspective? How do we get from A to B, so to speak?
Well, again, it depends. Most individuals will have an awakening to most of what they need to know. Now, again, there is such a thing called a life review, which you can look at as a process that the soul may go through to understand how to absorb the lessons of the physical experience that it created for itself. So you could say that that looks like it would, quote unquote, take some time and be a process. But again, you're looking at that from a linear perspective. To the soul, it does actually happen all at once, but again, it can feel like it's something that unspools or unfolds over time. And again, this is why we say the soul level can experience intermittent time. Sometimes it can feel like time is unfolding. Sometimes things can happen instantaneously. It just depends. For the most part, in general, when you wake up in spirit back to your true self as a soul, you will have a relatively full awakening of all the things you need to know. All the questions you wanted answers to will be given to you. And in that state, you will understand many things that you may not understand as a physically focused being. But for the most part, you will still maybe go through things to consider how you want to use the information for the next choices that you will make, and therefore experience, again, a little bit of the idea of intermittent time. And, no pun intended, at the same time, you can also utilize that information.
Okay, and what is the best way to respond to someone violating your boundaries when you cannot immediately leave the situation?
Well, we would have to engage this individual in more detail to understand all of the details of the situation they are referring to, because it is not always true that they cannot leave the situation as a representation of the consequences of someone who may be violating their boundaries. But if it is true that they cannot immediately leave the situation, then certainly they can stand their ground and say, I understand that you may not feel that you are doing so, or it may not be your intention to do so. So I will take the responsibility of telling you that to me it feels as if, it appears as if you are violating boundaries that are important to me. And I respectfully request that you stop doing so. If they refuse to stop doing so, then again, you can say, this is what I am perceiving, whether you are actually doing it or not. And I'm asking you to respect the idea of what it is I am perceiving. Because even if I am not correct that you are intentionally doing this, this is what I'm experiencing, and I'm asking you to respect what I'm experiencing. If they still refuse to understand how to honor what it is you are experiencing, then it is our understanding that there is probably some way that you can disconnect from the situation, even though it may seem at first.
And how is it possible for a soul to evolve when everything is timeless? Everything is now, and the soul is at the same time in different lives.
You're talking about two different levels. Everything is not timeless, except on one level. You obviously have created an experience of space and time. That's how you evolve. That's how the soul evolves, by creating that experience in order to discover something new. So it's not correct to say that everything is timeless, because physical reality, by definition, is not timeless. It's an experience that you have created in order for the soul to experience the concept of growth and change and evolution. So it's not correct to say that everything is timeless. Spirit world is timeless, but even then, it's experiencing what we would call intermittent time. Because while on the soul level, and we will talk about this in the next transmission more deeply, you can have experiences that seem like time-light experiences, but then you can also shift very rapidly and instantaneously to other timelines and other experiences. So the soul level is both timely and timeless, and it's what we refer to as intermittent time. Physical reality is experiencing linear time. The soul is experiencing intermittent time. The truly timeless state is the oversoul level that experiences all the souls simultaneously. So again, do not be confused in your definitions. Not everything is a timeless experience, even though on one level everything exists now. That's not the way you experience or perceive it from the level that you have created physical reality to be. And therefore that...
Now I'm just going to shift over to some ET galactic questions.
Yes.
How much of the open contact possibility is related to the Pluto-Neptune cycle? When tracking down the history of UFO phenomena, nuclear weapons usage, and the Pluto-Neptune cycle, there is a clear match with the 40-year cycle you mentioned. The last Pluto-Neptune influence occurred around 1947 when the Roswell incident happened and lasted until the end of the Cold War. The next one is between 2026 and 2032, and it matches both your time predictions of open contact.
Yes, well, again, there are always going to be collective archetypal symbolic representations of the cycles that exist within your human consciousness, and we are obviously aware of those and using those to tell you about those cycles. We may not frame it in astrological terms, but nevertheless, the cycles that we are talking about will always have a correlation to some of the ways that humans reflect archetypal imagery and symbology that they can use to inform themselves of those cycles in whatever language they choose to use. And the idea of astrology is one of those languages that allow you as a permission slip to...
This person is saying that lately they feel like there is something wrong and unconscious with pretty much everything humanity is doing to the world. They're having trouble focusing on the positives and letting themselves enjoy things. They're saying, if I watch a TV show, I feel like I'm supporting corporations and capitalism. If I buy a treat at the store, I feel off about the wrapper or the packaging contributing to waste. If they want to take a trip somewhere, now they're worried about their carbon imprint. They can't afford an electric car, etc. They even get hesitant about ordering business cards to put themselves out there in the world because of the paper, ink, shipping, and so on. Even watching this transmission online or using the internet uses servers and energy and fossil fuels. I'd like to relax about some of this and flow and enjoy my life, but I'm worried about voting for the reality that I prefer and with my actions and don't want to make any mistakes. Is this level of attention to detail about ramifications of every choice in our lives necessary, or am I just punishing and restricting myself unnecessarily with all of this? Can we be...
You are punishing and restricting yourself unnecessarily. You are overthinking things. The idea is you're holding yourself back and you are not allowing yourself to move forward because you're using all of those things as an excuse to not move forward. There are ways you can go about doing all of those things that are at least in some way, shape, or form more in alignment with the way you would prefer to do them. And if there isn't, the idea is then do something about making changes in your society that would allow you to move forward on those things so that society can perhaps learn to do them in different ways that are more beneficial to all. But the idea is that you are simply focusing on all the negative things, which only increases the negative energy. You are compounding the negativity by being afraid to move forward because of what you believe to be negativity itself involved in all of those things. Don't use it as an excuse to not move forward. If you're going to allow changes to occur that are positive, You do have to take some actions, otherwise nothing happens except a reinforcement of the negativity that you are perceiving, but getting caught up in terms of all these details. So don't use it as an excuse to not move forward. Allow yourself to know there are ways to do things that are more positive, and if there isn't, then you have the opportunity to invent ways of doing things that are more positive, or teach others how to come together to think of new ways using your creative imagination. That's what it's all about. So if you see something that you are vibrationally not compatible with, then do something in your creative imagination to change those things to be more vibrationally compatible.
Bashar. My name is Jillian. I'm from Philadelphia. My question is about dreams, and specifically old dreams, something that's maybe 6 or 10 years old. The essence, the feeling, and the memory of the dream, but mostly the essence of it, will pop into my head randomly. And these are dreams that are 10 plus years old. And I don't know what it means. It's a specific image from the dream, objects from the dream, and the feeling of the dream. What does this mean?
It means that different experiences that you are having while you are asleep are representative of different vibrational frequency levels of your consciousness, and some of them will leak through when a particular frequency is appropriate to represent you allowing that frequency through, coming from that frequency to recognize that frequency may be more representative of you being more of your collective self, and to act from your passion at that moment in that frequency. It's training you to understand the different levels, different frequencies of your consciousness, so you can use them more effectively in your physical waking state. All right, good day, good day.
Good day, Bashar. My name is Renee, and I'm honored to be here.
It is our passion and our pleasure to interact with you as well.
So I have a couple of questions for you. I'm the one who created the spiral artwork that I intended for it to be connected to your spiral sculpture on your home planet.
All right.
And I was just wondering if you could tell me if you could feel anything from the artwork, or...
It is quite beautiful. Quite beautiful, and a mix of different energies. It is representative as a spiral of connecting to different frequencies, different levels of consciousness from our perspective, different dimensions of experience. It is a two-dimensional version, of course, of the spiral we have created on our planet, which is actually a tower spiral, goes up to a point. But the idea, nevertheless, is that it does, in fact, from our perspective, capture many different resonant frequencies of different realities and levels of consciousness, blending them all together in the act of a movement, a motion, an action that can be taken, and therefore is a wonderful permission slip that can be absorbed as a reflection, as a mirror for those that gaze upon it, to allow them to be inspired to take action as well by connecting to more levels of their own consciousness and their own being. That is our interpretation of the art.
Thank you so much. Another question I have is, I was drawing I always start with a spiral when I put the pen to the paper. And I was drawing these little things, and they looked like little lanterns to me for the longest time. And I kept drawing it and drawing it and drawing it. And I was getting a little frustrated. And finally, these little beings came through. They look like little people, kind of.
Yes.
And can you tell me if they're connected to any hybrid children I might have, or what they are?
They can be representative and symbolic of that, but they're more likely connected to the elemental realm. Do you understand that term?
I do.
All right. So,
Um,
because the hybrid children are also connected to the elemental realm through their consciousness very strongly, they can be represented in the mix. But for the most part, what you're experiencing are the lights that come through and the bridges that are created between the physical and the elemental realm so that beings can express themselves in the joy of the creation of your art.
I see. Can you tell me if I have any hybrid children and how many?
You do. I'm not going to tell you how many because that's a relative term, because your DNA may exist in thousands of hybrids.
I understand. My last question is about one night several years ago, I looked up into the night sky and it was very dark. And high up in the sky, there was this opening. It looked like a door and
Yes.
it looked like a rainbow. It was very bright and it was for about 1.5 seconds. It opened, I saw it, and then it just closed. Can you tell me what that was?
A portal. It's simply that you've expanded your consciousness to the point where now and then you are capable of seeing the energetic portals that constantly fluctuate and exist between your reality and other realities. These portals exist all over your planet and in the sky, and from time to time they will open, and it's a rare thing still, but will become more common in the future, that your people will be able to extend their senses to the point where you will see these portals opening and closing all the time.
It was amazing. And I believe that was my last question, but would you please give my regards to Saibo and Willa?
Done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day.
Good day. Shavai.
Aveo.
Hi, Bashar. My name is Renee. I'm from Adelaide, Australia. My question is, can you follow the formula for something like healing, like emotional healing, like trauma or grief? So deciding your next step by following your excitement within that context. I found that that's been working for me, but I'm wondering if this is part of the structure of reality or it's just been working out for me. Thank you.
The formula is part of the structure of reality in the sense that that's how you create your physical reality experience. It's literally the recipe for the mechanism that you use consciously, the mechanism of consciousness that you use to create your physical reality experience. So in that context, yes, you've already discovered that it will work in that way. Therefore, keep using it. But don't forget that it contains the tool of the reflective mirror that puts you in touch with your belief system so that you can redefine things as you prefer to redefine them, knowing that your past is created from the present. So every time you have a new understanding, a change of understanding, a new level of understanding of yourself, you're also changing your past. And therefore, what it is you believe you are connected to or drawing upon in every given moment, redefining yourself.
Aloha Bashar. My name is Luca, and I'm currently an international student on Maui, Hawaii.
All right.
It's a great honor and excitement to speak with you again. I have a question and a short story to share, if I may.
Yes.
I would love to know, when it comes to the idea of first contact, and when you look at our educational system we have on Earth, are there any majors of study or areas of research you would suggest going into that would potentially help us prepare and become more involved when it comes to the idea of first contact? Parentheses, other than military stuff, obviously.
Well, not so obvious necessarily. Never invalidate anything. There are always many different pathways for different people to take. But the idea is not so much the subjects, because you have to simply gravitate to whatever subjects you are attracted to gravitate to, whatever you're passionate about. That's your path of least resistance for that moment. So more than the idea of pointing out subject matter, we simply point out the idea of style of education. In other words, the main three things are to teach your children, or anyone, in a safe environment, a creative and imaginative environment, the consequences of any choices they may be making. So teaching them the consequence of choices is of paramount importance. But do it in a safe way, in a simulated way, before they make those choices out in what you call the real physical world. That will help train them to learn to make positive choices, ones that are in balance, ones that serve everyone. Number 2, teach them that they are as powerful as they need to be to attract whatever they need without having to hurt themselves or anyone else in order to attract it. Number 3, make sure that whatever lessons are truly important for them to learn to thrive in physical reality are adapted to their excitement rather than diminishing their excitement to teach them the lesson. Those 3 fundamental principles will allow individuals to grow into mature, balanced adults that can make positive, balanced choices that will serve all concerned and allow them to be who they truly are. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. That helps a lot.
Yes.
And the story I would like to share is of a contact experience I've had approximately 11 months ago. And I thought it might be a fun one to share for the topic we are exploring today.
All right.
So that day I went to sleep at 4 a.m. and very quickly I started to feel this classic energy over my body that I usually feel when I go into an astral projection. It came in and went in waves, and I felt like my energy levels were being tested or something. I was satisfied because I didn't have any resistance. I know I have to completely allow the flow of energy to pass, even though sometimes it seems like I'm right next to a buzzing airplane engine. Or
congratulations.
And then I opened my eyes, and what happened was I saw 3 gray beings in my bedroom,
Yes.
almost looking like Sasani beings. And their energy was very direct. It almost felt like they were doing a routine job checking another human. And this was very different from the usual experiences I have when I meditate. And one of them came closer to me, a half a feet from where I was sleeping. And what surprised me was how, in fact, short they were, even though I already knew that they would be. And actually, their heads were so big in comparison with their bodies. And just because their energy felt really human, they looked like humans, but they weren't. So it was quite unusual.
Well, that's a projection, yes.
Yeah, and also I can't remember if they were wearing clothes or if it was just a very thin fabric.
A very thin fabric.
Yes, and one of those 3 came closer to me, and as they did, I went under my blanket. There was no fear, but I thought, I'm not afraid because if this was real, it was always real. I felt like I could go on and continue the experience, but I thought that was enough fun for the day. So I closed my eyes and I started to feel my physical body very quickly. And when I opened them, there I was. It was the same bedroom, except I was back in the physical reality. And the first thing I did was I checked what the time was. It was 5 a.m. And then I went to record my experience in a journal. But all this time I wondered, is there anyone else on the other side of the room in astral reality? It was really cool because I felt how instantaneous, how small of a difference there was between that slightly higher vibrational plane and the physical one, even though I couldn't see them anymore.
Yes, it's not that different.
Yeah, and overall it was quite exciting to experience, just like you've mentioned those first contact experiences might happen.
All right, well, yes, you were dealing with the grays, and congratulations for having the awareness to remain conscious.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Yes, that's all from me, and aloha from Maui.
Aveo.
Hey, Bashar. My second question for you today is, what are the origins of Sufism? I've been doing a lot of research into this as well, and it feels like the more I research, the less I know about it. So if you could help me out with anything to do with Sufism, I would really appreciate it. And thanks so much, Bashar.
What we can tell you at this particular moment is that even though it wasn't called Sufism at the time, the roots of it began in the culture and civilization you know as Sumeria, gravitated into the idea of India and other places throughout Asia and the Middle East. This is many thousands of years ago. It is a remnant of certain things that were also done in Atlantean times, but again, it wasn't at that point recognized as Sufism, and certainly wasn't represented in that particular structure. But some of the elements have been transferred from culture to culture, and you can even take a few of them, not a lot of them, but a few of them as far back as the idea you call Lemuria, or Mu, in the South Pacific. Therefore, some of these principles have existed in humanity's legacy for a very long time, tens of thousands of years, and may have originated when human beings started recognizing.
Hello, how are you?
Good day, perfect. And you?
I'm very well, although a little tired.
Oh, all right. How exciting.
Okay, thank you. So my question is, in the early days of the hybridization project, why wasn't DNA harvested from something like sperm banks rather than abducting people directly, or is it a case of fresh is best?
Well, it is in a sense a case of fresh is best, but the idea also is that there are energetic components you will not find in a sperm bank, besides which eggs must also be taken.
Right, I see. Also, another question. You've mentioned in a previous transmission that the Greys had to remove their emotions so they could do what needed to be done. And I'm just wondering if you could clarify a bit more specifically what it was that needed to be done.
The hybridization project is monumental and expansive, and they understood it would take a long time to achieve. Therefore, they knew from their experience as human beings that emotionality might get in the way of their efficiency because there was absolutely no time to waste whatsoever. They had to, in a sense, become very, very coordinated, and therefore they had to remove the emotional component in order for them to function as a unit, as a hive mind, in the most efficient way to get the highest degree of efficiency to achieve their goal, because it was absolutely necessary that they do so or they would die out. Therefore, to use your colloquial vernacular, they hired another species, the mantis beings, to oversee the entire operation, while they simply were capable then of letting go of all of those things that might be distracting to them and function in a very machine-like way to achieve the goal they were attempting to achieve, while overseen by those who could guide them. Does that answer your question?
That does answer my question, which brings me to another question. Do the mantis beings have emotions in the humans?
Absolutely.
Right, okay. And one last question, if I may. You've said before that you're in an alternate universe, where
Yes.
I was under the impression that you are in an alternate timeline in this universe, under the impression that there are separate universes, each with their own timelines.
From our perspective, a timeline is another universe, is a parallel reality. It's just another euphemism way of expressing the idea of an alternate universe or a parallel reality.
That makes sense. And do I have time for just one more question?
Well, you used up that time with a question.
Well, yeah, so I did. Okay, so sometimes I have, as many people do, a premonition about what is to come, and sometimes it comes true, and sometimes it doesn't. So
Yes.
what I'm wondering, how can people go about more consciously remembering their future?
Well, by remembering first and foremost that it's not fixed. There is no such thing as the future. It is composed of a number of probable paths. And remember, as we have said many times, there's no such thing as a prediction of the future. There is a sensing of the energy that exists at the moment the prediction is made, and therefore you get to decide whether you want to continue that particular energy direction or whether you prefer to change it. So the idea is to use it as a compass needle, a guiding mechanism to decide exactly whether or not to maintain the direction you're going in or to alter that path. And therefore, you're constantly choosing a number of different probable paths as your so-called future. The more you follow the formula, the more you raise your vibration, the more you will become consciously aware of the probable paths, and therefore can more consciously choose. But again, nothing remains absolutely fixed. It's in constant flux. It's a forever dynamically changing path. It's not static in any way, shape, or form. So to become aware at the level that you're asking about, in a sense, is to rigidize a process that actually serves you best by not being rigidized.
Okay, yeah, I think I understand that. All right, that was all of my questions. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome.
Bye-bye.
Good day.
Hello, I want to ask a question. I have a question to Bashar. I have an energetic surplus or plaque on my nose since January. And since then I haven't been able to do spiritual practices. And also it hurts sometimes, and I want to know what is it and how to get rid of it, because I've been to a lot of healers and psychics, but no one could give me a direct answer or a good answer. So I hope you can help me. Thank you very much and goodbye.
We may not be able to address this fully because we cannot address physical health issues. However, instead of seeking the energetic assistance of others, we would suggest that you allow yourself to do things that are more physical. Allow yourself to take more physical actions in the direction of your passion rather than just the idea of remaining interested in energetic pursuits. More physical activity may open While many of you have been experiencing more synchronicity in your lives by using the formula that we have outlined, following your passion to the best you can, no assumption, no insistence on the outcome, remaining in a positive state no matter what manifests so that you can gain the benefit from it, we have come to realize in various conversations that there may still be a little bit of misunderstanding or confusion or lack of clarity about some of these concepts we have discussed with you in the past. Therefore, today, in this transmission, we would like to provide a little bit more precision in the understanding and explanation and definition of these concepts of state of being, circumstance, and synchronicity, and how they work. So the idea is to understand, first and foremost, that some people, when we talk about circumstance, and we have said circumstance doesn't matter, only state of being matters, there are many things to understand about this that will help clarify this concept. When we talk about the idea that circumstances don't matter, we don't mean that they don't have value. We don't mean that you should ignore the circumstance. Some people have taken that phrase in this manner. What we're saying is, circumstances are the result of your state of being. They don't cause the state of being, your belief systems do. And when your belief systems create a state of being, that's what generates your reality experience, the reflection you get in your physical reality that creates the so-called circumstance or situation that you experience. So while the idea is that the circumstance isn't what creates your state of being, it can still be used to understand what your state of being is. Saying that it doesn't matter simply means it isn't the causation of your state of being. Therefore, don't go off the circumstance as if that's what's responsible for the state of being you're in. Always look to your belief systems first to determine why your state of being is the way it is, why your vibrational frequency is at the level that it's at. Therefore, you can always use your circumstance as a guiding mechanism to get in touch with what you would have to believe is true in order to have created this reflection, this circumstance. But sometimes you will just create circumstance to gauge what your state of being is, to be able to tell, like a reflective mirror, well, because of this circumstance and these things being arranged in this way and this prop here and that person there saying this thing at this time, look to your response, look to your reaction to those things to help you illuminate what your belief system is that's creating the state of being that is giving you this reflective circumstance in order, again, to get in touch with what the belief system is. It's kind of a circular tool. The idea is then not to ignore the circumstance as if it has no importance or no value, but to utilize it to gauge for yourself more clarity in what you believe to be true, that is therefore creating a vibrational frequency that brings about this particular circumstance in order for you to understand more clearly what your belief system is, in order to reveal what that is to you more clearly. So it's about using the circumstance in the way it is designed, in the way it is built, not just ignoring it and thinking you can change your state of being without necessarily understanding why the circumstance is what it is as a set of props in order for you to get in touch with what the belief is that created the state of being to begin with, that brought about the circumstance. Also, connecting to the concept of synchronicity that brings you these circumstances in exactly the form in which they come, it's very important to understand how synchronicity works in a little bit more detail. It's all well and good when you allow yourself to recognize synchronicity, when it brings you an opportunity that is representative of your passion, and it brings you the ability to act on things in the direction of your passion, and it brings you signs and signals that you learn to interpret as being representative of your path, which again is represented by the vibration of your passion. But also, there are times when people might become a little bit confused, a little bit frustrated, why certain things are not going in the direction you thought that they would. Well, again, of course, this ties into not having insistence or assumption, as we have said many times, but the idea also is that synchronicity will work not only to provide you an opportunity to act, but more importantly, will sometimes provide you an opportunity to not be able to act in the direction that is not representative of your path of least resistance. Many people don't understand that synchronicity can use the negative side for positive reasons. So your inability sometimes to actually go forward in a certain direction is also an indication sometimes of synchronicity, showing you this is not the next step to take. This is not the direction you need to go in. This is not the path of least resistance, even though at first it may have seemed so. So it's important to really clarify in your observational skills, in your discernment skills, the ability to tell when synchronicity is not only telling you, yes, act on this, but is also telling you, do not act on this. You don't have the ability to act on this. This is not going to take you further. And you have to pay attention and have the discernment to tell the difference between when synchronicity is telling you, this is not something you can act on, or whether or not is your own fear-based belief telling you not to go forward. We understand that this can be sometimes a little bit challenging to tell apart, but nevertheless, once you begin to understand a little bit more clearly that synchronicity can work this way and actually prevent you from moving forward on a path that is not yours, you'll be able to tell the difference through practice between your own fears stopping you and synchronicity simply putting up its hand and saying, no, not this way. Look for the other way that contains your passion. Don't keep trying to go down this path, because right now, this is not the path of least resistance. This is not representative of the passion that is truly you. So the idea is that synchronicity and circumstance and state of being all work together, kind of in a triad, to help give you the guidance and give you the ability to know where you stand as a navigational tool, so to speak, at any given moment, to let you know what is something to act on, what is not something to act on, and to observe these things, to stay in that state where you look at your state of being, where you look at the circumstance and the value that it brings you as a reflection, and you understand and look at the synchronicity and how it is working, both in the ability to act or the ability not to act. You can gain in that process more insight into exactly your timing, your pacing, making sure that you are exactly where you need to be, when you need to be there in terms of your state of being. And remember, please, it is not about trying to get somewhere more than it is simply being exactly where you are in that process. Never assume you need to rush forward. Never assume you need to go faster than you are or slower than you are. The idea is that the synchronicity in working with state of being and circumstance, if you are willing to have this discernment and realize all the different ways this is working for you and use these tools in the way they can work for you, you will then always be willing and excited to stay in the moment, in the process, because that's the most important thing right there. Not where you need to go after that, but right there, that's the whole idea. That's the whole reason why whatever is happening is to be in that process and in a state of being and in a circumstance synchronistically where you are examining your belief systems, finding out what the value of the circumstance is as it came to you, discerning what synchronicity is telling you about moving forward or not moving forward at that particular moment in that particular way, and adjusting your state of being and first and foremost your belief systems in order to allow your state of being to bring you the circumstance and the synchronicity in the form in which it is most clear and working most precisely to allow you to take the best possible advantage of the formula and the instruction manual that we have shared with all of you. So let this sink in, ponder this, and allow these things in this moment that you ponder them to simply come to you and work for you. Again, you don't have to be anywhere else more important than what's happening in that moment. And just dive deeply into it. Meditate on it, think about it, however you wish to do it. But stay with that triad of state of being and circumstance and synchronicity and really give yourself an opportunity to learn to develop the discernment to find out exactly what each of those tools is working for you and how it works for you best by just staying right there with it and not being in a hurry to be anywhere else.